Greetings YouTubers, and welcome back to another Toddy Walnuts collection overview video. And today we're going to go through my Code Red Blu-ray and DVD collection, which consists of this entire shelving unit here that we're looking at. So it's mostly Blu-rays. I do have a little stack of DVDs, and I have some more of the Dark Force stuff on the floor. I'll share that with this video as well. So get yourselves relaxed. Get a beverage and a snack, kick your feet up, and let's enjoy this video of the Code Red Blu-ray DVD collection. Okay, so this was a label that I really enjoyed collecting over the years. The owner and proprietor has passed away, and he was a one-man show, so many of these releases were very limited. Many of them were limited to 1,000. They're hard to find these days, and they had a wide variety of genres, such as there's some film noir, there's some horror monster movies, there's slasher movies, there's blaxploitation, there's kung fu and grindhouse style movies. There's even some westerns in here and just a little bit of everything, and I really enjoyed that. And I hold this collection near and dear to my heart because I really was I was all in when this was going. There are some that I am missing, because even after William Olson passed away, I think his brother Walt co-released some of these with Kino, and Dark Force released some of these as well. So I think there's probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 that I'm missing. But we'll go through, I'll show you everything that I have, and these are numbered spines, so we're gonna go from 1 all the way down to, I don't know exactly how many I have, I didn't really check, but you'll see by the time we get to the end of the video. Yeah, this is going to be a long video, so strap yourselves in, get a beverage, and let's see if we can get in here and check these out. So the very first one is called the Electric Chair. I put that one in a black case. I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to try not to kind of linger on each title, but I'll give you a little viewing of them. This is a movie from 1975, and it's 98 minutes running time. I'm just going to put this one off to the side to give myself a little room, a little bit of wiggle room to pull these out. Next one is one of Fulci's latest movies, or one of his last movies, I should say. This was Voices from Beyond. And we have Nail Gun Massacre. This was the original uncut version of the movie. There's a movie I really like. This is called Just Before Dawn. I really like the backwoods slasher movies. This was pretty good. Got George Kennedy in it. Here's a different side of Linda Blair. She's a victim of a very horrific crime against women, and she becomes the aggressor and has her vengeance in savage streets. Pretty good movie. Next one is called The Redeemer, Son of Satan. This one's called Nightmare. This is the 35th anniversary edition. It's uncut, also called Nightmare in a Damaged Brain. There's a mafia movie from the 70s called Family Honor. Some blaxploitation goodness, The Black Gestapo. The next one's called Weekend Murders. There's an action movie with William Catt from House fame. This is White Ghost, the uncut version. Neon Maniacs. Kind of reminds me of a Clive Barker movie, but it's not. Next one's called Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary, and they're calling this one Bloody Color. David Hess was a great villain in all of the movies that he played, but he was a really good villain in this one, House on the Edge of the Park. And we're up to spine 14 now. This one's called Brute Core. Henry Silva in Trapped. It's pretty good too. I like this one. Slasher movie, Sweet 16. Kind of a school campus type slasher. Next one is the 40th anniversary edition of Messiah of Evil, the Second Coming. They have also recently, when I say recent, it was probably within the last couple of years, released this movie with a slipcover. I have to try to track that one down. The Midnight, or the Eerie Midnight Horror Show. Let's see, this one came out in 1981. Twisted Italian sick flick, originally entitled The Sexorcist. A demon possession type movie. Approximately 85 minutes running time. Somewhat of a post-apocalyptic vampire type movie. The People Who Own the Dark. The next one is called Lady Stay Dead. And we're up to spine 21 here with the cheerleaders. So they have some comedy and some kind of sexploitation type movies. There's nothing that's really over the top though. There's no skin flicks, if you know what I mean. It's just kind of like Cinemax type romps like that. This one's called The Sicilian Connection. This is a good one with Ben Gazzara, another mafia type movie. This is another one here I really like. This is kind of a Grindhouse movie called Deadly Hero. James Earl Jones and Treat Williams. It's in the 70s. I think it takes place in New York. 1975. Yep, New York. I like the 70s New York scenery type movies. It's really good. Next one called The Headless Eyes. Here's kind of an oddball movie. It's got Adam West and Tia Carrere in it, called Zombie Nightmare. It's pretty fun though. It's a good movie. Has a good soundtrack from Motorhead, Pantera, etc. There's some good stuff in there. Next one is called The Vampire's Night Orgy. Here's a Western movie. It's kind of over the top gory, called The Cutthroats 9. Here's Revenge of the Cheerleaders. You can see a young David Hasselhoff there at the bottom. Kind of a romantic comedy type movie like that. Here's Brotherhood of Death, another blaxploitation movie. The Man with Two Heads. Torture Dungeon. Bloodthirsty Butchers. And the last one for the first shelf is called The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here. Kind of a little monster creature feature type movie. So that concludes shelf 1. Put the electric chair back in here, and we will slide down to shelf 2. Shelf 2, here we come. So the first one is spine 34. And this one is It's called Legacy of Satan, and it has a second feature called Blood. Put this one off to the side. Give myself a little room here. The next one is called The Devastators, or The Devastator. Roger Corman post-nuke collection called Dune Warriors, starring David Carradine. Another slasher movie called The Love Butcher. Creature feature called The Strangeness. This one came out in 1980. Make sure we're in focus here so you guys can see. All right, the next one is called Trick or Treats. Another David Carradine movie. This one also has Steve Railsback. Movie from 1982. Next one's called The Obsessed One. The Devil's Wedding Night with Mark Damon. There's another post-apocalyptic movie called Wheels of Fire. The Sisterhood. These are pretty fun movies. Equalizer 2000. I believe all of these are limited to 1,000. There's a Tobe Hooper movie called Spontaneous Combustion. And the next one is called Terror Circus. This one also is called Barn of the Naked Dead, I think. Something like that. This one has Andrew Prine, 1973. Next one is called Retribution, The Ultimate Nightmare. This is the 30th anniversary edition, and it was the first time on Blu-ray at that time. Here's kind of a Exorcist ripoff called Night Child. Possessed child movie. Here's Shakma. Killer Baboon. Roger Corman Presents Pit Stop. I think this is a Walter Hill movie. Jack Hill, I'm sorry. It's Jack Hill. And this one came out in 1969. Sid Haig is in here. Let's see if we can find him on the back. We can. Right there. Sid Haig with a beautiful mane of hair on his head. And Sid Haig was a good actor. Next one is called Silk. Eye in the Labyrinth. This is spine number 53 now we're up to. This is the uncut edition of Knife for the Ladies. Serial killer slasher movie. This is a really good one, The Police Connection. This is the violent theatrical cut. This one has Chuck Connors and Vince Edwards in it. This is really good. I recommend that one. Fred the Hammer Williamson Collection, Volume 1, Mean Johnny Barrows. Uncut Director's Edition. And we have The Hammer back with Death Journey, also the Uncut Director's Edition. Maniac, a Killer, not to be confused with Maniac with Joe Spinell, but this is a different, similar type of a movie. Here is The Forest. This is another really good one to me. I like it a lot. And this was the first issue of it, and then they re-released it a few years later with a beautiful slipcover. We'll take it out so you can look at it here. Same movie, just a different cover. Next one is called Devil Times 5. It's a killer kids movie. Not that good to me. I didn't really care much for it. Here's Truck Stop Women, starring Claudia Jennings, who I believe would have been one of the next biggest starlets hadn't she passed away early. I don't even think she made it to 30 years old. I think she was in a violent car accident in California, I believe, when she was 29 or 28. And she passed away, but she was just getting ready to be the next big thing. And she was gorgeous. Where did we go here? Okay, this one is called Nightfall. Kind of a little bit of sci-fi for you. Next one's called Acapulco Gold. Mardi Gras Massacre. Here's another Western. This was pretty good. A Long Ride from Hell, starring Steve Reeves, who was known for playing Hercules in a couple movies. And here's a double feature about, well, one's Sasquatch and the other one is Encounter with the Unknown, which was narrated by Rod Serling from Twilight Zone fame. This is a pretty nice little double pack here. So that will conclude shelf number 2. We'll put Legacy of Satan back in, and we will meander down to shelf 3. Spine number 68. This is Stigma. And this stars Philip Michael Thomas, who was in Miami Vice. Right there. This movie came out in 1972. So this was well before Miami Vice. I'll put that one up here on top for a minute. And the next one is Black Candles, which is kind of a witchcraft Satanism type movie. It's pretty good. I like that one. It's spine number 69. I'm not going to read every single spine, but you can see as we're going along here. The next one's called Necromancy. It has Orson Welles in it. He was a Wisconsin native. We're pretty proud of Orson Welles. Next one is a black magic creature feature movie called Headhunter. Here's a sci-fi movie called Soul Survivor. And this is kind of like a precursor to the final, what were they called? Final Destination, I think they were called, where people were trying to cheat death when death was tracking them down. Those were Final Destinations, right? I think they were. I enjoyed those movies. I just can't think of the name offhand. I believe that's what it was, though. Next one's called Lord Shango. Here's some more kind of spicy comedy. This is called Hot Moves. A second there. Next one's called Mission Kill. Some more action. This one's called Moonshine County Express. This one has John Saxon in it, right there in the middle. Claudia Jennings is also in this one as well. There's Maureen McCormick, who was Marsha Brady, John Saxon. There's Claudia Jennings right there. She was absolutely gorgeous. It's a shame. The next one is called Caged Men. More grindsploitation, grindhouse stuff there. We got Simon, King of the Witches. Mutant with Wings Hauser. Fun little sci-fi movie. Slaughterhouse Rock. Has a really good soundtrack too. It's a pretty good movie. Next one is called Running Scared, but not to be confused with the other Running Scared with I can't think of his name. Gregory Hines, I think, was in the other Running Scared, and Billy Crystal. That's not this one. This is more of an action one, whereas the other one was a comedy. Where are we here? Okay, we got Schoolgirls in Chains. Happy Hell Night. Mark of the Witch. Here's a little twin pack. You get those mad movie makers, and gosh, it's me, Alice Goodbody. Alice Goodbody was it's so blurry here. I apologize, guys. Sharon Kelly was Alice Goodbody. These were both from the 70s, I believe. Mad Movie Makers, 1974, and Alice Goodbody, also 1974. Okay, moving along here, we have spine number 86. This is Scream, but not to be confused with Ghostface Scream. This is much earlier than that. This one came out in 1981, probably at least a good decade before Ghostface came out. Next one's called Group Marriage. Claudia Jennings is also in this one. You can see there at the top. Let's take a look at her. Every chance we get to see Claudia, we should take a look. I don't think that's her right there. There she is in the red overalls. Maybe that is her. It just doesn't quite look like her though. There she is right there on the far right. Okay, the next one is called The Working Girls. This one has a very young Elvira, who is come on. Cassandra Peterson is Elvira. I don't think she's on the back. I already looked earlier, but this was a movie from 1974, so she was probably a teenager, I would say, probably at that time. Okay, the next one is called Blast Fighter. This one has George Eastman in it, who was in a lot of different type of Italian genre movies. He was in some horror movies and westerns and all kinds of good stuff. And I'm not seeing him on the back, but, oh, wait, is that him? I don't think that's him right there. I don't think it's him. This one came out in 1984. All right, the next one is called Iron Master. This one also has George Eastman. Let's see if we can find him on the back of this one. There he is right there. That's George Eastman on the far right. And he's still with us. I believe he's in his probably late 80s, maybe even early 90s now, George Eastman. Really tall guy too. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8". He's a really, really tall dude. All right, the next one is called Hide and Go Shriek. Here's Delirium, also known as Photo of Joya, Lamberto Bava movie. Here's one called The Hills Have Eyes Part 3, Mind Ripper, but it's really not part of the Hills Have Eyes movies. They just use that as a way to kind of, I guess, ride the success of the originals. But this one has Lance Henriksen in it, and so it's not really that good. I think they kind of ruined the movie calling it The Hills Have Eyes because people were going into it thinking it was going to be very similar to those movies, but it's not. So I was pretty disappointed with this movie. They should have called it something completely different. Here's another kind of an exorcist type movie called Beyond the Door. It's got a nice slipcover. Code Red didn't really release a lot of slipcover movies, but the ones that they did were pretty cool. Here's another one called Zeter, also known as Revenge of the Dead. Zombie movie. There's a movie called The Jigsaw Murders, but not to be confused with any of the Saw movies. This is completely different. And not as good. Here's a pretty decent zombie movie starring Alex Cord called The Dead Are Alive. Alex Cord was in a lot of Italian genre movies too. He was in westerns and horror movies and such. Though he was a pretty good actor. That's him right there. The Dead Are Alive. This is spy number 98. Next one is called Savage Attraction. From 1983. And some more post-apocalyptic stuff here in the aftermath. And the last one, Hands of Steel, directed by Sergio Martino, who was also in a lot of different, he was a director of a lot of different Italian genre movies, westerns and post-apoc and horror. So that is the conclusion of shelf 3. We will slide down to 4. And the first one here is spy number 102. This is called Cocaine Wars, with John Schneider, who was Bo Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard. Put that off to the side. And the next one is called Twisted Nightmare. I put it in that black case. I think it looks pretty good. There's another post-apocalyptic movie called After the Fall of New York. Deadly Dreams. Nam Angels. Biker gang type movie. Here's High Point. Pretty cool cast here. You got Richard Harris, Christopher Plummer, Beverly D'Angelo. This movie came out in 1981. Okay, we're down here now to Last Plane Out, starring Jan Michael Vincent. Action from the 80s. Here's a documentary called Being Different. This one's narrated by Christopher Plummer. It's a documentary about different people who have lived with, I guess, deformities and different things like that. So you can see that, remember those guys, I think they're called Siamese twins when they're conjoined like that. There was a guy who had no legs, and the world's tallest woman, her name was Sandy something, I don't recall. I used to read a lot of the Guinness Book of Records, and I remember seeing her. And this guy had some kind of bone issue, I think, and just, there's a lot of stuff like that in this documentary. Being Different. That's spy number 111. And the next one, The Terror Within 2. Pretty fun, kind of an alien monster movie. Henry Silva again. I really enjoy Henry Silva. This one's called Fox Bat. Here's another spaghetti western. This one's called Vengeance, starring Richard Harrison. This is a hijack. Neville Brand is in here. He's probably the biggest name, I would say. This was from the 70s, 1973. Some more blaxploitation. Baby Needs a New Pair of Shoes. Here's a double feature. You get Last House on Massacre Street and Wild Little Bunch. And we have Julie Darling, starring Sybil Danning, who was always one of the most beautiful women in the world. Very, very voluptuous and very beautiful. Just a very beautiful woman. The next one has 2 releases. This was the very first release. This one sold out right away. I believe this was limited to 1,000. And it was gone pretty quick. It's called Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker. It's a slasher movie from 1982. And then it seems like it was a few years later. They re-released it this time. They had a slipcover with it. So I double dipped because I like that slipcover. This next one is a pretty wild movie. It has a little bit of everything. It's pretty fun. Definitely drive-in style, definitely Grindhouse. It's called Devil Express. So you have zombies, you have karate, you know, stuff like that. I forget his name. Let me take a look here. He's a well-known martial artist, and I'm drawing a blank. Warhawk, Tanzania. He was in a lot of, or maybe not a lot, but he was in a handful of these kind of kung fu type movies. I know some of you guys from the era know who he is. Maybe a lot of you don't. But this was from the 70s, so this movie came out in 1976. It's pretty fun. I enjoy this movie. Next one's called Ghost Keeper. It's very middle of the road. I would give it like maybe a 5 out of 10 as a ghost movie, but it was pretty good, I guess. 5 out of 10 for a horror movie is not terrible. Next one's called Quadroon, the Black Mandingo. I've never seen this yet. It had some really weird, had a really weird tagline here. It says, she's quarter black, 3/4 white, all woman. And she is very attractive. I just feel like that's kind of an odd way to kind of put it into perspective. But next one is an Italian crocodile movie starring my girl, Barbara Bach. Always had a big crush on her. That's Ringo Starr's wife, by the way. And Mel Ferrer is in here. He was always great. This is a Sergio Martino monster movie, creature feature called The Great Alligator. This one's fun. I'm pretty sure this was from the late 70s. But it also could have been early 80s. It doesn't say on the back. But there's what the rubber monster looks like. There's the gorgeous. She's so pretty. I mean, she's got to be in her 80s now. She still has a little bit of that cuteness left to her. She stayed natural, like she didn't get any work done. So she aged beautifully. Next one is called Cry of the Prostitute. This one had the gorgeous Barbara Boucher and Henry Silva again. Barbara Boucher was really, really gorgeous. There she is. Even when she's kind of makeuped up. That doesn't sound right. Even when she's got a bunch of makeup on, she still looks beautiful. There's Henry Silva. Hey, just forget I said makeuped up. Just forget that. The next one's called The Power. This was originally released by Scorpion on DVD, and then somehow Bill released it on Code Red. They were brothers, so I'm sure that Scorpion let Bill release it. So Scorpion was Walter Olson and Code Red was William Olson. Here's another kind of a weird movie, but it's still fun. I enjoyed this one. It's called One Dark Night, and Adam West, who was the original Batman, and Meg Tilly, who was in the Child's Play movies, is in here. This movie came out in 1982. Hard to believe it's so long ago already. I remember watching this on VHS. That's a pretty nice cover though too, so glad to have that. One Dark Night. Another drive-in style movie that I watched as a kid. William Shatner, Kingdom of the Spiders. Really good stuff here. This one came out in 1977. He was always really good in everything he did, I thought. He's still with us too. He's in his 90s. And he's still very sharp. I hear him doing interviews still to this day, and he's right on top of it. I mean, he didn't lose anything yet. God bless William Shatner. So many great memories from him over the years. One of the greats, I think. And the next one, top of the heap. He was a violent man. Trouble was, he was also a cop. 1972. Trying to see if this one also takes place in New York. A lot of these kind of movies did, but it's not saying. But here at the top it says George is a man, crossed it off. George is a black man, crossed off. George is a black pig. Next one's called Corrupt. It has Harvey Keitel and Johnny Rotten. I never really got into the, was it the Sex Pistols, I think? Johnny Rotten. I never really got into British punk. This one came out in probably the 70s, but it doesn't say. Next one is called Out of Control. This one's good, starring the gorgeous, there she is, Betsy Russell. She is a cutie. There she is again, look at that. She's got almost like a prom dress or something type of thing going on. It looks like it's filthy. These are fun movies, 1984. She was also in Avenging Angel, Tomboy, Private School, and other movies. This one's kind of a, I guess, rare slasher movie. It's called The Slasher is the Sex Maniac. Great title, if nothing else. Next one's called The Last Hunter. David Warbeck. Tisa Farrow, who was Mia Farrow's younger sister. And this, it doesn't say what year this one came out either. This is the unrated edition of it though. Kind of an action jungle type movie. And speaking of jungle movies, oops, this was in backwards. This is called Jungle H. And this movie is wacky. They're all about the same. If you ask me, if you've seen one of these, you've seen them all pretty much. And to me anyway, I have to be in the right mood, I guess, to watch any of these, and sometimes it could be several years before I do. It's not one of my favorite genres of movies. Next one's called The 7 Blood-Stained Orchids. How do you like that for a title? This is a giallo from Umberto Lenzi. They always have great titles, don't they? This one is from the 70s. I'm gonna guess early, maybe 71, 72. A maniac is on the loose, committing savage acts of slaughter, and one survivor may be the only key to unmasking the serial slayer known as the Half Moon Killer. 7 Blood-Stained Orchids. There you go. And one more for this shelf. It's called Warlock Moon. Kind of a witch vampire type movie. 1975. This was put out in conjunction with Shout Factory. So that will conclude shelf 4. We have 2 more to go, and then we have a little pile of DVDs, and we'll wrap this up. Okay, so shelf 5, here we come, right here. And the first one, spine number 137, and this is The Dark. Keenan Wynn, Richard Jackal, Kathy Lee Crosby, William Devane. Kind of a monster movie from 1978. There's, oh, wow, that's really blurry. There's Richard Jackal. He was always a good actor. He was kind of a tough guy. He was always kind of a second fiddle, though he was never really a starring role. He was always kind of maybe a supporting role or backup type guy. He was good, though. Next one is called Lightning Bolt, and it also comes with the second movie called The Resurrection of Zachary Wheeler. Next one is The House of Insane Women and Passion Plantation. Next one is called Texas Detour, and it has a bonus movie called Cuba Crossing. They Call Me Bruce. This is a comedy, karate comedy movie from 1982. Another double feature, Devil Woman and Dragons Never Die. The Hot Touch. This was one that I picked up just to kind of somewhat complete the collection. Was never really interested in that title at all. That has what's his name? Wayne Rogers right there. He was in MASH. He was good in MASH. I'll give him that. I thought MASH was a pretty funny show. Let's see what we got here now. This is called The Curious Female. Race for Glory, kind of a motorcycle racing type movie from 1989. The Sadist. This is spine number 146. And we're getting into another double feature here. These are both Fred the Hammer Williamson movies. You have Mr. Mean, which is a kind of an action, blaxploitation action, and you have Joshua, a Western. And Fred the Hammer Williamson is still with us. He's got to be in his 80s by now. Here's a creature feature monster movie, big monster in a rubber suit called Slithis. Here you can see the monster there. 1977. And another monster movie, rubber suit, The Being. Martin Landau, Jose Ferrer, Ruth Buzzy. Ruth Buzzy's still with us too. I know she had some pretty bad health issues, and she had several strokes over the past few years, and she's recovering. Always enjoyed Ruth Buzzy. She's a legend. I wish her well. Next is called Emmanuel and the Deadly Black Cobra. Don't worry, there's no nudity on any of these releases. Great. Next one is called The Witchmaker. It's a pretty nice little slipcover there. 1969. Concrete Jungle, women in prison, trying to escape type movie. 1982. Trying to get it to focus here. Here's Cut and Run. I can't tell if it's my eyes are blurry or the phone, but Cut and Run. This is it's kind of a slasher, kind of a hillbilly backwoods type deal with Michael Berryman. Karen Black is also in here. Richard Lynch. It's a pretty good cast. There's Berryman. He's always pretty good in all the stuff he does. He plays a good villain, even though he's a pretty nice man in real life. Serpent's Lair, starring Jeff Fahey. The Apartment on the 13th Floor. It says here, after a slaughterhouse worker, Marcos, accidentally kills a man during a fight, he begins to lose his grip on sanity. After his brutal crimes escalate and the body count grows, the killer must find a way to dispose of his victims. The solution is simple but shocking. You are what he eats. Yeah, it's one of those type of movies. Next one is called Panic. This one also has David Warbeck. And I think it was re-released years later. This one doesn't have a spine number. Or does it? No, this one does not have a spine number, but it's the same exact movie, just two different covers, so I put it side by side. But, yeah. See if we can get a side-by-side comparison so you can see them both. It's the same movie. See that there? Nice. Okay, we're making pretty good time. I thought this was going to take much longer, but it's going pretty good. So the next one's called Violent Professionals. This is a Eurocrime type movie directed by Sergio Martino. This is pretty good. It's a pretty good movie from the 70s. Richard Conte is in there. There's another Eurocrime movie called Almost Human. Tomas Milian is in here. And Henry Silva. Serial killer type movie. Love Me Deadly, Uncut. A Hunger from Beyond the Grave. 1972. The Boneyard. This is kind of a horror comedy with Phyllis Diller, Norman Fell. Norman Fell from Three's Company there. There's Mr. Roper. You can see how the monsters look. It's definitely a horror comedy from the 80s. There was a lot of them. They were good. I enjoyed them. Next one's called The Carrier. Kind of a virus type. The virus is spreading, turning people into mutants. Here's a triple pack. This one's called Mama's Dirty Girls, Supervan, and Piranha Piranha. There you go. You got it's a 3-pack. This is supposed to be kind of like a drive-in lineup. I wanted to see who was in Mama's Dirty Girls. I bet you did. No, I was trying to see if, let's see. Sandra Curry, Candice Rialson, and I don't recognize the names. But that's a nice little drive-in 3-pack, I guess. And Next one is called Slave of the Cannibal God. Ursula Andress. That's a great cover, slipcover. Dante Tomaselli's Desecration. This is spine number 165. Monster Shark, Lamberto Bava. She was a really good looking actress in here. They were showing her a lot with swimsuits and stuff. She was really good. It started out that she was like a, kind of like an aquarium to study sea life type stuff. And so that, the monster shark was part of that. And I thought she was really nice looking in the movie. Here's one called Erotic Nights of the Living Dead, a movie by Joe D'Amato. I don't think I can show the back of this one. I can't. Can't show you the back of that one. Some beautiful women in that one, though. Scantily clad, if clad at all. Here's Savage Streets. This was a reissue. This one is spine number 169. And you may remember from way in the first row, we showed this one, which was spine number 4. Oh, come on, focus, there we go. The same exact movie. It was just re-released. I think the second one has a better print, or a more cleaned up print, but it's the same exact movie. The second one has a slipcover too, but I think they may have cleaned this one up just a little bit more. Let's see what it says on the back. Yeah, it doesn't, it's from 1984, but it doesn't really say. Has an HD master that was done in 2019. So the first one didn't have that, as far as I know. Let's see what it says on the back. Let's see here. Sorry about this. I just like to. Yeah, this one doesn't have that that cleanup that they did in 2019. This one came out before that, so. All right, I feel like I spent too much time on this. I just wanted to kind of share that with you. That's why they have 2 different editions. This one's a little bit better, I guess. If you're gonna get it, try to get this one. You get the slipcover in a cleaned up movie. And then the last one for this shelf is a double feature called Teenage Tramp and Kat Merkill in the Silks. And Teenage Tramp stars Alicia Fontaine, who I'm not familiar with. And Kat Merkill stars Kelly Yeagerman, also I'm not familiar with that name, but there you go, there's a double feature of it. So we have one more shelf to go, which if you look down here, it's Blu-rays from here to about right there. And then we get into some DVDs, and then I have some also on the floor. So a little ways to go, and we'll be done here shortly. Okay, so now we are down to the bottom shelf. And the first one is called The Fifth Floor. This one has a young Robert Englund in it. There he is. And this one is spine number 171. For those of you guys keeping the score at home, hope you were able to see all the spines. If not, I can do kind of a slow pan at the very end. Here's another backwoods slasher movie that I really like. This one is called Just Before Dawn. This one has a pretty cool slipcover. $1981. There we go. George Kennedy. Let's see, next one is called Swinging Barmaids. Kind of a skin romp comedy. This one's spine number 174. Here's Street Law. This is a Euro crime movie starring Franco Nero and Barbara Bach. Great cast. This one was directed by Enzo Castellari. Franco Nero is great in everything he does. He's really, really good. And of course, Barbara Bach is the eye candy. And she was a great actress in her own right, I think. Okay, the next one is called Steel Arena. I don't really know a lot about this one. I've never seen this one before. Looks like it's kind of maybe a race car movie, or kind of like a crash up derby. What did they used to call those? Crash derby type shows or movies. Steel Arena. If anybody knows, you can comment. Next one is called Screams of a Winter Night, and this is kind of a horror anthology movie. I thought it was pretty fun. It was very kind of run-of-the-mill, though it was probably like a 5 out of 10 for me, but it's about a group of, I don't even think they were teens, they were more like young adults, and they kind of get holed up in this cabin during a winter storm. And while they're in this cabin, they each tell a story. And some of the stories were pretty good. There was one about a Bigfoot, a Yeti. That was my favorite one of the stories, but there were some pretty good ones in there. I would say check it out if you like horror anthologies like that. Next one's called Blackout. Robert Carradine is in this one. Here's Dead Pit. Kind of a mad scientist doctor who is kind of experimenting on patients and turning them into living dead. It's a decent movie. This would probably be a good double feature with The Reanimator, I would say. They're both kind of similar, although to me the Reanimator is much better, but this is still pretty good. It'd be a good number 2 to that. Next one is Fulci's Conquest. This was kind of a bizarre movie. It's kind of a sword and sandal with magic and a little bit of horror elements to it. It's very, very low budget, but there's a charm to it. Hey, big girl. She wanted to come and see us. Hey, Hannah. She's checking up on me. How you doing? Wanted to say hi to your fans. You have a lot of fans out there. They say you're pretty. And they're not wrong. All right. So yeah, this one's very low budget, but it's still fun. Next one is called Spasms, kind of a monster movie type thing. The monster bites. Oliver Reed is in here. He's one of my favorites. But the snake bites turn these people into like monsters. And I think, are these part of? Okay, yeah, these are still code red, because I know we kind of get into the Dark Force here in a little bit. But this one's called All Night Grindhouse Marathon. You get 6 movies on 2 discs. And let's see here, what are the movies? You get The Dean's Wife, The Velvet Trap, Marcy, and Hot Nights on the Campus. And the other 2 are Sex and the College Girl and Shut Up and Deal. So yeah, you get a nice little drive-in 6-pack there. And the next one, these are not numbered now. I didn't even, when I bought this, I had no idea it was even code red. But this is the Puffin Stuff movie from the HR Puffin Stuff show. This was the movie that came from that series. I love this series and I love the show. of the movie, and you can see that this is when Kino Lorber and Code Red teamed up to release this. This was already after William Olson had died. So these were not numbered, but it does still have the Code Red logo. And let's see what else. What else can I show you guys? This is a double feature drive-in style. House on the Edge of the Park and Last House on Massacre Street. Pretty good double feature. Feels pretty heavy. I think it's 2 discs. And there's this one's also not numbered. The Code Red logo also has the Dark Force logo. So you see what I meant earlier when I was talking about Code Red was released by Kino and Dark Force. And we have one here called So Sweet, So Dead. It was also known as So Sweet, So Perverse. Same movie, just 2 different titles. This was also put up by Code Red, but it doesn't have a number. There you can see on the spine. So I think, is that it for the blues? Let's see. Did I show you this one already? Yeah, I showed you that. I think what I'm gonna do now, since we're just down to DVDs, I'm gonna take these in the other room so I don't have to keep stretching my back to pull these out. And then we'll go through the DVDs and I'll show you some of the Blu-rays from Dark Force, and then we'll wrap up the video. Be right back. Okay, we got the gang all together again to finish this video. It was a little bit of strain on my back to try to lean over, and I don't feel like kneeling on the hardwood floor. So I just brought the remaining DVDs, and then I have a stack of Dark Force that we'll go through, and we'll end the video. So I wanted to show the dogs too. So spine number 31 for DVD, I have A Long Ride from Hell, which also has a Blu-ray upgrade, which we showed earlier, starring Steve Reeves. The next one is called Rivals, and this one is number 44 on the spine. Um, 1972. I don't know much about this, so I can't really talk about it. Here's another some blaxploitation. It's called The Black Klansman. It says filmed in black and white like real life. See how they tried to kind of they tried to fire people up, I guess, for to promote the movie. Next one's called God's Bloody Acre, and it had a bonus feature called Tomcats. Primal Rage, Killer Baboon movie. We showed this earlier on Blu-ray. It's about baboons who escape from kind of a what do you call it, like a lab where they're kind of experimenting on these poor animals, and one gets out and raises hell. It's a pretty fun movie. Here's Ghost Keeper. This is the 30th anniversary edition DVD. Also had an upgrade on Blu-ray. It's not a great haunted house movie, but it's still pretty good. I thought it was decent. It was worth a watch anyway. Here's The Witchmaker. Also has a Blu-ray upgrade. I love this cover though. I think that's really cool. Next one's Mardi Gras Massacre. Also has a Blu-ray upgrade. Here's Night of the Demon. It's a Bigfoot movie. And it has the very infamous scene where that the biker gets his, well, you can kind of come up with your own conclusion what he was doing there. Here's Stanley, the special deluxe edition. I know that's not Alan Alda. Every time I see that, it looks exactly like Alan Alda to me from MASH, but it's not. This movie came out in 1972. Has a nice Blu-ray release by Vinegar Syndrome now. Here's another spaghetti western movie called Vengeance. It also has an upgrade on Blu-ray. We showed that earlier. The Love Butcher also has a Blu-ray upgrade. This was spine number 94. Here's a Kung Fu martial arts movie starring four-time world champion Ron Van Cleef, the Super Weapon, spine number 115. And we have Spasms, which also has a Blu-ray. We showed it. It has Peter Fonda, Oliver Reed. Pretty good special effects makeup, though. I like that. I like the way they did that. All the way back to 1982. And we have Don't Go in the Woods, one I really enjoy. This was the 25th anniversary at the time. It's probably like 40 years old now. What year did this come out? 1981. So it's 44 years old now. And we have Girls in Chains. This was, it doesn't have a spine number, but this was purchased on the Code Red website, and they released this on Blu-ray as a Code Red movie. This was before they started doing the spine numbers, though. It has the Code Red logo right there. You can see that there, codereddvd.com. This was just before they started doing the logo and the spine numbers. So some of these won't have spine. This one doesn't either, but it's a Code Red release. It's a 6-pack. You get the Sin of Adam and Eve. You get Hellhounds of Alaska. Let's see if I can make that clearer for you. Psycho from Texas. Boogie Vision, Gums, and Bad Girls for the Boys. It's a 6-pack on 2 discs. And they also had a couple of movies that they released with Shriek Show, and this being one of them. So there's the Code Red logo again. And there is the Shriek Show logo. This is called Killer's Delight. And here's another one, same thing. The Curious Case of the Campus Corpse. And you can see the Code Red logo and the Shriek Show logo. This movie was pretty good, but the print was absolutely horrendous. It was really hard to watch this. I'm hoping that somebody puts this out in it with a nice cleaned up, maybe Vinegar Syndrome or somebody, or Arrow or Scream Factory. But this DVD is pretty terrible. And the last DVD is called Quadroon. This one also did have a Blu-ray upgrade. We looked at it earlier. It's the one that said 1/4 black, 3/4 white, all woman. And this one didn't have a spine number. The movie came out in 1971. And so we're going to get into the Blu-rays now. And these are all from Dark Force, which is a company that was working with Code Red before William Olson passed away. So some of these movies were put out in conjunction with Code Red and Dark Force. Some of them are just Dark Force. I like to keep them together because they're very similar. So the first one is a double feature called Chaos and Don't Look in the Basement. Here, let's see if we can zoom in and get you a good look at the logo for Dark Force. Maybe on the back would be a little bit better, probably. Dark Force Entertainment. Nice little double feature. I don't know what's wrong with this phone, man. There's no reason for that. As much as we pay for these phones, there's absolutely no reason for that. The next one's called Offerings. And these have spine numbers too, I think, don't they? Some of them do, but for some reason this one and this one do not. I'll show you the spine numbers when we get to them. But this is a pretty decent movie from 1988. This one's called Redneck, Euro Crime. There's Franco Nero and Telly Savalas. Movie from 1972. This one's spine number 20. You can see the spine there now. The other ones didn't have that. Here's a Blu-ray with a slipcover. This was spine number 19. This also had another title, an alternate title. Hold on one second, I'll be right back. Okay, so these two movies are exactly the same movie, just two different titles. And this one was put up by Code Red, which was unnumbered, just a Code Red spine. And this one was put up by Dark Force, and it's spine number 19. It's the exact same movie, just two different titles, and I wanted to kind of share that with you. And here on the back, they're showing it as a collaboration between Dark Force and Code Red, and this one is just the Code Red title. So I wanted to show that to you because I think that's kind of interesting when you see movies like that with two different titles. And also, I believe this cover glows in the dark. It's in a bag right now, but if you touch it, like the monster and the people, it has kind of like a sandy, almost like a gritty, kind of a sandpaper type feel to it. And I believe that glows in the dark. Okay, so moving right along here, we get to Yeti, Giant of the 20th Century. This was also put up by Dark Force, spine number 16. It's a Code Red, Dark Force co-release. They're calling it a 1977 Italian King Kong ripoff. It was a very odd movie. To me, this was probably a one-time watch, but we'll see. Here's a pretty good one called Ator, the Fighting Eagle. Low budget, sword and sorcery, sword and sandal. Pretty fun movie. It's the kind of movie I would have loved as a kid. 1982, this came out. Everybody wanted to kind of cash in on that Conan type success, so pretty nice slipcovers though. And here's one called Point Doom, starring Richard Grieco, who was in 21 Jump Street years ago. Has Andrew Dice Clay and Ice-T also. There's the Dice Man right there, and there's Ice-T. Here's another really cool edition here. It's a double feature of The Gates of Hell and Psycho from Texas, and I believe this glows in the dark, and I think this may also, I'm not sure. This is a really, really cool slipcover here. I love this. I love the way it looks. It's like an advertisement that you would see maybe on a street pole or a side of a building, you know, to advertise these movies in a theater. And we have the Backlot Murders. I haven't been telling you the spines, but that's number 4. Corey Haim. I believe that's Corey Haim. Isn't that him? Let's see. Yeah, Corey Haim. And Priscilla Barnes is in here as well. And the last one for this video is The House That Vanished and The Eerie Midnight Horror Show double feature. Another really cool cover. Dark Force is a company I haven't really spent a lot of time looking into. I have some of their good stuff here. I think this was good if you ask me, but I really need to kind of check out their catalog and see if I can add any more of their stuff. So I'm going to pause it here. I'm going to go back into the other room, and I'm going to slowly pan over the numbers in case you guys want to see those again, and then we're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to say goodbye here for Toddy Walnuts and for Hannah and Heidi. Thank you very much for watching. Always enjoy your company here on the channel Walnuts, and if you have any questions or comments, leave those below. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Trying to get that glare off of you for you guys, if you're interested. All right, that'll do it. Take care.